Debbie from Lime Doodle Design, and today for my Doodling with Debbie feature for SSS Stamp, I have some Leafy Loveliness with the new Outline Clustered Leaves die from the recent You Are Loved release, paired with the new Oh Happy Day tag and Quilted Hearts background. This particular leaf series from SSS Stamp has been a favourite of mine. There was the original solid clustered leaves die and then the leaf stencil, and I'm so happy to see this new Outline Clustered Leaves die join the family. Although I have a bunch of coloured cardstock, I prefer the softer colours you get from creating your own from ink pads. For this card, I picked out a bunch of ink colours and swiped them across white card. The ink colours I used were Schoolhouse Red, Watermelon, Twirling Tutu, Slate, Smoke, and finally Winter Sky. At first, the ink pieces are darker than they will be when they dry, and after inking the pieces of card, I decided not to use the Smoke version. So I have my colour palette set, but I want a white outline for my colourful leaves to stem from, and so I cut the die from a piece of Neenah Solar White card. The outline leaf die really is stunning and large. It is longer than the palm of my hand, which means that on a standard size card you will likely not need to use all of the die cut, but it does make it also a great option for scrapbooking too. I dried the panels of ink card with a heat tool to prevent damp card getting stuck in the die, and then ran each colour through my die cutting machine with the Outline Clustered Leaves die. When the ink dry, they do lighten as well and soften in colour. It took a little while to cut out each of the coloured pieces with the die and pop out the leaves with a Holtz craft pick, but by the end of my die cutting session I had a colourful pile of leaves which you could make multiple cards with, and also off screen there was the colourful outlines of all the leaves too, which again you could use on another card. I set my colourful pile of leaves to one side while I worked on the rest of the card. For the background of my card, I'm going to white heat emboss the Quilted Hearts background on fog card. I love this style of subtle background stamp. They give the background a little something without competing with the focal point. On a piece of fog card, I stamped the Quilted Hearts background in clear embossing ink before sprinkling with white embossing powder and heat setting. I then trimmed the panel down to just slightly smaller than an A2 card base and mounted it on a side-folding white card. I'm going to pair the branch of colourful leaves with the Oh Happy Day tag, which I cut from white card and then foam mounted to the front of the panel. I cut the skinniest of strips of foam adhesive and added these to the back of the white branch. As you can see, I've trimmed the branch a little to fit on the front of the card so that the leaves drape nicely over the front of the white tag. The little pieces of foam adhesive will keep the branch in place, but its position will be secured more as I start adding the leaves in. So with my colourful leaves pile set to one side, I added a selection of the leaves to the branch with foam adhesive. I didn't want to jigsaw all the leaves back into the outline, but instead I often added them at an angle either on top of the white outline or underneath. I think this adds a bit of whimsy and some movement to the branch, and I can almost imagine these leaves swaying in a gentle breeze. Although I had lots of colours to choose from, I also added in some of the white leaves too, and I really like how these mixed in and set off the colours. I really love the New Girl's Best Friend sequin mix, which has large semi-opaque white sequins as well as sparkly clear ones too, and I dotted these around the branch and leaves and then kept them in place with Gina K Connect glue. I wasn't quite finished embellishing this card though, and thought that having variation in the leaves would be a good idea. So for some of the leaves I coated them with Spectrum Noir Sparkle Pen, and for others I added Stardust Stickles. And that completes this card with white outline clustered leaves branch and colourful leaves paired with the Oh Happy Day tag and Quilted Hearts background. On the SSS Stamp blog you'll find a coordinating blog post as well as details of the supplies I've used today. If you want to find me, I blog over at limedoodledesign.com. I want to thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you next time.